Hail, Internet! It's Paul, it's Matt! The Dork Lords. We are here talking about Foundation. Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4. The Mathematician's Ghost. Let's try that again.
It was a monster mash.
It was a monster Mathematician's Ghost. Hail, Internet! It's Paul, it's Matt! The Dork Lords. We are here talking about Foundation. Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4. The Mathematician's Ghost and Barbarians at the Gate. So, we open Episode 3 with Cleon the First, the original, 400 years earlier. The OG Cleon, 400 years earlier, nearing the end of his life, watching his star bridge being built, so it's still in the process of being completed. Much like the Death Star, I suppose. Anyway, and talking with the android, Demerzel, about transferring power to his cloned baby. So that cloning process is just underway. Like, what are we going to do? Oh, that's right. We'll have a clone me, and that me will take over. I'm going to say that just because we're talking about two different episodes, I'm going to go ahead and say where we end Episode 3 as well. So we end Episode 3 back on Terminus, 35 years later, after the Star Bridge was destroyed. Warden Salvor follows a vision of a boy with a knife. The knife looks suspiciously like the one used to kill Selden years earlier. She follows an imaginary image, a ghost, if you will, a mathematician's ghost, onto the wreckage of the old ship that brought them to Terminus, and also the site of Selden's murder. She is then ambushed by several invading soldiers from Anacreon, and she's taken prisoner. So that was how we end Episode 3. We opened Episode 4 with the latest brother Dawn, version of the Emperor, leaping out of a window. I think likely knowing that he's going to be saved by his personal protective field. I'm not, is he trying? It's like a mock suicide, perhaps. So maybe he's trying to feel something.
If he knew they would be saved, I think he would be less concerned about being discovered.
Okay, all right. It's an odd thing because surely he had an idea that maybe. Anyway, he leaps out of a window and is saved, whatever his thought process was, and that action is witnessed by a gardener named Azura. So that's how that opens, and then we end Episode 4 with a quick scene showing Gale, back from the end of Episode 2, in her pod, her stasis pod, drifting in space towards what looks like another ship. And we're not sure how long she's been in space at that point. So Paul, there we go. That's a long thing there. But Paul, what did you think of Episodes 3 and 4 of Foundation, good sir?
I liked them not as much as 1 and 2. It took me a while to become more invested in Salvor's story.
I agree.
And there was actually a point in the 4th episode, really, where I didn't think it was written quite as well, like during the interrogation scenes, and also their state of affairs on Terminus. I just didn't feel like they were as good, but I still am interested in the show. I'm still, I became more interested in the invading force once the warden interrogated and got out of her backstory and her importance, actually, because that was a surprise to me. I didn't think it was some grand plan. I was like, they probably just are trying to steal stuff, but no. Yeah, so I like them.
Yeah, I did think it was a little jarring. I mean, in that we ended with this cliffhanger at the end of Episode 2, and that kind of continues to be unresolved because we basically, we're not talking about what happened on the ship anymore for now. I assume that will get resolved. So there was a little bit of I wanted to know what happened, which I guess is what they intended.
Yeah. Oh, you care about the show?
Oh, man. So it seems like these two episodes especially episode 3, because the way it was almost cut in half. It was like the first half was Trantor, second half Terminus. But similarly, episode 4 kind of had like the Terminus section and the Trantor section. That it's trying to show this dichotomy between the two realms, yes. Right? Like, one is this technological and military giant in its decline, and the other is this new, rough-hewn, fledgling society on its way up. And so, you see these huge differences between the two. Both are, as it turns out, dealing with ghosts of dead leaders, right? So the Mathematician's ghost, especially that episode 3, you've got Cleon is this ghost lingering around for Trantor, and Selden is the ghost lingering in the current day for Terminus, which I like. I like that, seeing those connections. But yes, I am personally, I think, enjoying the Trantor section more than the Terminus section at the moment. That could change now that we've seen this situation where the Anacreon has definitely created a conflict, and Brother Dusk has sent the military from Trantor to go to Terminus now. So you're going to have Anacreon, Trantor, and the folks from the Foundation, essentially from Terminus, all together in one place in a conflict. That seems, ripe for interesting plot developments. Yeah. But I just, especially in episode 3, I guess, I really liked watching what they call Brother Darkness's final hours before dying. Right? So he was the guy who was Brother Dusk in episodes 1 and 2. Right, so at this point, then he ages up, and so what we were watching as Brother Day, Lee Pace, aged, because it was like 19 years later or something like that, I think. So he aged up to Brother Dusk, and then what was the current Brother Dusk is now Brother Darkness, and Brother Darkness means you got to go. We were actually talking about that. We were theorizing, how do they die? How do they? Well, this episode 3 told us how. All right, it's your time to ascend, which basically means you get incinerated. Oh, whew, okay. So, but just that thing where we see him spending these final hours and his relationship with Demerzel, that was really interesting. She's been there since Cleon the First. So, and in fact, if you think about what we know is, so Cleon the First was very old, and he's like, oh, Demerzel, are you going to carry this out for me? And she's like, I got it. So when he dies, that means, just an infant. They just had a Brother Dawn, so to speak, showing up. So that means that for a long time, probably Demerzel was like de facto leading the culture, right? I mean, like, the little baby wasn't like issuing orders. So who was speaking on behalf of the baby? Probably Demerzel. I'm just thinking. Anyway, so she had a huge part to play in this society. There's a nice line there where Cleon says, Demerzel says, I'm loyal to the Empire. And then he says, yes, but will the Empire be loyal to you? And which we know eventually there's a robot something, and all the robots get killed off except for her. But she's still loyal. It's her connection to these folks is really interesting, and that part where she says very touchingly, like, it's just that you always leave me. Like, she gets a relationship with a particular version of Cleon, and then she has to like take him all the way through his death, and then there's another one, and she's got another one, and like so. That's
she is willingly. It's not like you see any bit of hesitation on her part.
Right. Also, she must have. Well, I say must. She almost certainly seems to have some kind of emotional context. So she's not a complete robot. I feel like she's a feeling android. Cleon the First says to her, like, "Hey, one day we're going to ride to the top of that star bridge and look down on our kingdom," and that's exactly what she does. 400 years later, when they go blow up the remains of the Star Bridge, and you could see it affects her. She's almost crying, I think. Anyway, she has an emotional connection to Cleon and the Empire, and she's bought in, it seems. Which is why, if there's going to be a turn, it'll be really interesting if suddenly she's like, this was my plan all along. Plasma rifle, 40-watt range. I don't know. Anyway, I'm interested to see. I feel like there's a turn maybe coming where she is somehow the antagonistic force, perhaps. On Trantor. We'll see. Actually, one of our commenters, Jerome, had a hot take. Paul.
Oh, did he? Ooh.
So we were talking about like the destruction of the Star Bridge, and it's still a mystery. Who destroyed it? Right? We were theorizing about it last time. You mentioned the robots might have done it. I was like, maybe it's like an anti-Harry Seldon might have done it. Our commenter Jerome's like, Harry Seldon caused it. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Oh.
So he's thinking he caused the destruction of the Star Bridge as part of the plan. Kill millions to save trillions kind of thing, which, makes him kind of Thanos-y. But anyway.
Yeah, it does.
It would cast him, Thanos Jr., if he was going to be a little evil there. But, hey, anyway, so that's an idea. I suppose that is in the realm of possibility that because they can't figure out who did it, obviously whoever did it, very smart. Perhaps Harry Seldon was like, this is part of the thing. Anyway.
Considering, he should have been able to predict then the reaction to it, which really does make him pretty evil.
Yeah, right. It would be, that dude's a villain.
It was like, everything that's bad's going to happen, I'll make it happen, just so you know that the later stuff is going to happen.
Right. You're right. He would be this puppet master behind the strings, woo. Okay, so I think he's a little more heroic than that in the books. So I'm going to guess that's not the direction this thing is taking, but who knows?
Sure.
And because they're talking again about ghosts, somebody says we ignore the dead at our peril, and then we see like Brother Dawn, for instance, that when he's like teenagerdom, he's having like the part of the mural erased. So he's, in other words, like, I don't need that anymore. For whatever reason, he's removing the past, forgetting it. And there's something obviously different about this Brother Dawn, right? I mean, the guy who maybe tried to commit suicide.
I mean, we're assuming, that all previous generations didn't jump out of a building.
Right. Well, and in fact, there's that moment when Brother Darkness is going to die, and at his ascension, execution, whatever you want to call it, little baby Brother Dawn is crying, and Darkness turns and he says like something is wrong, so you wonder like, wait, what was he? Is he seeing something about this particular version of Cleon? Like, is this the start of like maybe they've cloned one too many times, a copy of a copy of a copy, and now it's like
this baby likes to cry. What the heck is that about?
Yeah, crying. There's no crying in executions. But I don't know. Anyway, it seems like they're setting up the idea that this version is different. Especially even in when we see him as a teenager, he's having much more trouble keeping up with the traditions and rituals than like little kid Dawn was back in the episodes 1 and 2. Right, where they're sitting at the table eating, and he's like, wait, which hand do I use? And you can see that the current Brother Day is really frustrated with the current Brother Dawn. Like, come on, don't you know this is obvious? And anyway, so I feel like he seems to be, somehow pushing against his heritage. I guess
that could be. I guess. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, because now he's made a relationship with this gardener, and she's like prescribing different herbs to like help him. I'm not sure what she was. She said something like it helps with inflammation. Was she talking about as like an injury due to his fall, which he wasn't hurt? But I don't know. I don't know what she was.
What me
she's
too.
medicated for.
That made me wonder if what's going on is he wants to kill himself because of pain or something, but I don't know.
Okay. I think she's in real peril. I would say that gardener, if I was going to mat somebody, I think that gardener's in real trouble. There's a lot of ways that could go wrong. Either he just gets bored with her and decides to kill her, or he gets this really strong emotional bond to her, and the other people around her are like, that's not healthy, we need to get rid of her, and the court gets rid of her. Or Demerzel maybe is like, wait, someone else is more important to my Dawn than me? Kill her. There's a lot of ways that politically speaking, that's not a good relationship to have. Gardner with King, like uh-oh. So anyway, Azura, we hardly knew ye.
We'll see. I noticed though you didn't stake any candy on it. So
I'm not. I'll give one more episode to see where that's going before I stake candy on it. Come on, those stakes are way too high.
Yeah.
So anyway, all that political intrigue and showing how they're just bound up in this tradition really was interesting to me to watch. Also, just kind of it was a little confusing, but it was kind of an interesting confusing to keep track of who am I watching. Yes. The guy who was Lee Pace in episodes 1 and 2 is now the old guy. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And the current Lee Pace was the guy who was the little kid. Got it.
Yes.
And so there's a big animosity between those two. The current brother Dusk and the current brother Day, who were in episodes 1 and 2 were the kid and Lee Pace. The Lee Pace of now is really upset with Dusk for what he did. Like, you acted impulsively, and you cost us a star bridge, and you blew up these planets and made them hate us, and it's all your fault, and you suck. And wow, okay, they're unraveling, and they're also seeing that, oh my gosh, wait, Selden's predictions are all coming true. This is terrible. And so he has that shouting match with their other mathematicians that don't have a Harry Seldon in them. Tony Stark built this with a box of scraps. He's basically, I'm not Tony Stark.
He did that guy one better though by having a heart attack and dying.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Oh yeah. Did he die or did he faint? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's a good question. They dragged him off.
They did drag him off. So yeah. Okay.
So I feel like if he was having a heart attack or fainting, that they should do something.
Right. Instead of just dragging by his feet.
Yeah.
Lee Pace, brother Day, is having like an intimate experience. There's a woman brought in, and we see a little bit about how the personal force field works.
Yes.
Right. So like if you come at him quickly, bunk, you can't touch him. But if you just come slowly, that seems like a big loophole.
Yeah, really.
I'm protected unless you move slowly, and then I'll die terribly.
He's sleeping. Let me take this knife and go really slowly.
In other words, I think they're suggesting it's not just 100%. No way I can get hurt. There are ways. There are ways you can still hurt this guy. That's most of what I was thinking about for Trantor. Notably, then at the end, Brother Dusk sends the army sends folks to go check out Terminus. And so that's a huge development that's happening. So up on Terminus, you've got the situation, where Salvor, we find out that she one point went and slept underneath the vault, so she can get right up next to it. We kind of knew that already, but it's said aloud that she's unlike others in that she has access to it, and she's having these visions. It seems pretty clear that the vision she's having is of like a little kid Raish with the knife. We see him in the library. He keeps showing up and kind of guiding her in ways, like for instance, he guides her to the ship when the Anacreon folks are there, and so that gets her to meet up with them. So in some ways, it's probably the vault connecting to her psychically or something, perhaps. Salvor also has a love interest named Hugo. He is a Thespin pilot. So Thespis was the group that was kind of against Anacreon, who also got bombed.
Okay.
And so obviously these Anacreon soldiers would not take kindly to this guy from Thespis. I think that's why he's brought in to help interrogate. He's like, look, this guy you hate. He provides an interesting little tidbit, which we were theorizing was true, and he confirms it, that if you're in stasis, you don't age.
Right.
So that means that I think we will see Gale show up, maybe even in this context, in that present. She'll show up, but she'll be the same age because she was in stasis for 35 years, perhaps.
Right. Well, when that final scene that has her, we definitely see that she's, it's still the same age.
Right, whatever that is. Now, if we take it in on face value, the rest of that episode 4, I could be wrong here, but I think it's the only one of the 4 that actually stays in one time frame. It's showing what's happening in Trantor during that time, because you said, and what's happening in Terminus at that time. So if you take that at face value, that the whole episode is from the same time frame, then yes, we would see. Oh, that's Gale.
Yes.
Same age, showing up at a ship. So perhaps.
Right. Perhaps.
That shows that she's going to be showing up. We also do know that this is a very important moment in history because the voiceover tells us that this is what Salvor is going to be known for.
Okay.
It's like people who read the history of Salvor point to this day or something like that is what it says. So like, okay. All right. So something huge is happening, and obviously something huge is happening, but Anacreon is trying to draw Trantor out to Terminus. I feel like that's likely. Also, the fact that this woman who's the leader of Anacreon, the psychic reading of her, if you want to call it that, is like she wants to die and she wants to kill everybody with her. So it sounds like she suggests she knows that the beginning of the end for Trantor will start in the outer worlds. She says something like that. So maybe she's just trying to accelerate it. She's like, look, if we start something out here, maybe that's where we
I doubt
but start
that she's she's on the side though of this process to save things. I feel like she's merely out for revenge. She's just trying to exact the most damage.
Certainly, if she's out for revenge.
Sort of like the terrorist in The Expanse.
Right. Good point. I just feel like she would be getting revenge if she could initiate or accelerate the fall of Trantor. Right. I don't think she cares about the rest of it. But she's like,
right. Like, sure.
Anyway, I don't know. There's probably something more than just. Maybe I can help the prophecy along. Maybe somehow that's her intention. Is what she is doing. She thinks is going to precipitate the fall of Trantor or continue its fall. So we'll see how that transpires.
One thing that was starting to become more of a thing, which I doubt is really a part of the books, but the more they get into the metaphysical mind reading, seeing stuff, I hope they control that. Don't have that be too much of what's going on.
I agree.
It's like certainly fantastical stuff happened as an example in The Expanse, but it was couched in a way that it was like, okay, these other beings are have their own physiology and therefore they act in ways that still come within the realm of science. So,
right, you put this little science spin on it. I got you.
Right. But to the extent that she's seeing things. Anyway, so I hope they control that.
Okay, all right, that's a good point. Going forward, we'll see how that goes. Is it just like a convenient plot device? Oh, we need him to know this, so look, she can read their minds. That's fine. Like, don't do that. We see that when the original settlers arrive on Terminus, and that includes Salvor's parents.
Yes.
They see the vault. Like, what is that? And they try to go to the vault, and they all get knocked unconscious by the null field. Mm-hmm. If you walk close enough to the vault that it knocks you out, how do you ever wake up?
Yeah,
I mean, like who could have gotten them? Anybody who come to get them would also be knocked out. So it just seems like you'd have a whole series of unconscious people just gathered around the null field. But anyway,
if it's persistent, perhaps you get a little used to it, and then you can sort of get up with a headache and walk out of the way.
Yeah.
Maybe you sedation like, whoa, that knocked me out. Oh, that doesn't feel good.
Maybe you have to grab the 22nd person that arrived saw 21 people that are like, oh crap, okay, and you start using like a lasso or something to reel people back in. Yeah. Somebody was very smart and saved the day, is what I'm saying.
Or
there's somebody, Jerry.
Ice, water, ice covered water, like, make a chain.
Yeah, right. Oh, but somebody saved the day on there. So good on you, Settler X.
Yes. Also,
it's interesting, and I think they even bring up this point when they're interrogating the Anacreon person. But some folks in the group seem really confident that Trantor is going to show up.
Yes.
And somebody does say, like, I think it might be the Salvors, like, we're Empire related in name only, really, and it's like, and that's true. That's what I would think. I would have severe doubts. You haven't talked to Trantor in decades. You're like, no, they'll show up. I'm sure they'll show up. Why wouldn't they show up? They've never shown up before. Like, okay. They're awfully confident without any real reason to be confident. But as it turns out, Trantor is sending someone, so they were right. Anyway.
Yeah. Turns out they were right.
They were right.
Confident.
All along. We do have also this plot line where one of the religious leaders has died in the galaxy and is being replaced.
Yeah. There's concern that the people that are going to replace this religious leader are people who will not believe in the in the rulers of Trantor.
Right. So there's an obviously, like, oh, if they take that leader, we're fine. But there's this other person that the people seem to support who basically is like, clones don't have souls. And so they're like, whoa, we don't want that. And so one of the brothers, I think it's Brother Day, Lee Pace, is going off to talk to those folks. I feel like that may go poorly, say. But so there's that, in other words, that's one of the signs of Harry Seldon, like, in other words, the people are going to turn against you, and they're seeing that as like, oh crap, there's another sign that we're doomed. Oh, also, we should note, we don't see Raish at all on Terminus, right?
Yes.
Like,
no. Don't.
So whatever happened to him after he killed Harry, he doesn't seem to have gotten off the ship.
Right.
I mean,
right. I wonder. I guess it's possible there's a Raish we haven't seen, an older Raish.
It's possible, but
that would surprise me.
Yeah. I feel like they maybe executed him, or anyway, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Anyway, looking forward to episode 5. I think we'll now start covering it one episode at a time. And come on back for that. Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.